as possible.
Dame Caroline Dinage.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I echo the words of thanks, please, to the Joint Committee and indeed their clerks under the excellent chairmanship of my honourable friend, the member for Folkestone and High, for this really thorough and weighty report. They really do include some of the big beasts in the world of online safety, and this is important because this is one of the single most important pieces of legislation of our time, I believe. It is absolutely groundbreaking. It's vast. It's almost 5 bills in one, and no country has attempted to regulate the internet so comprehensively. The pressure really is on, not least because we have got into this bad habit of describing this bill as the cavalry coming over the hill for the online world and all the ills it contains. Somebody compared it to the motor car, and it's taken decades of legislation to address the safety issues of that evolving technology. So we will never do this in a one-er, but this bill needs to be the very best possible starting point, the foundations to face the current threats, but also the challenges of the future. I lived with this bill for 20 months, Madam Deputy Speaker. I can talk about it forever, but I won't. Let's start at the beginning with the algorithms. We've all seen them. You start watching cute videos. In my case, it's usually of babies falling asleep in their own food. And immediately, I know that's probably just me, immediately you're swept into this rabbit hole of suggested content, and it's designed to keep you engaged as long as possible because that is where the money is. Capture our attention and sell it to the highest bidder. Don't forget, if you're not paying for the product, then it's most likely that you are the product. But it gets more sinister than that, because that same algorithm which is sending me those cute babies is recommending self-harm to a vulnerable teenager, or spreading wildly dangerous disinformation about the dangers of COVID, because algorithms are echo chambers. They take our fears and our paranoia, and they surround us with unhealthy voices that reinforce them, however dangerous and hateful. According to the 2020 Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma, former employees of the largest social media companies who were integral to the early development of those algorithms say addiction is built into the design, and many of them say they're so unhealthy they wouldn't let their own kids anywhere near them. As the report says, tackling these design risks at source is more effective than just trying to take down individual pieces of content. We saw it at the outbreak of COVID. 5G masts burned to the ground because of some wild conspiracy theory suggesting that they were at the root cause of COVID. 3G and 4G masts were also destroyed because it turns out these people aren't wildly bright and can't tell the difference. But you can't censor this stuff because it just fuels the sense of state-conspired conspiracy theory. You need to stop it before it's force-fed into people and ensure that there's balance. Platforms must tackle the design features that exacerbate the risk of harm. The legislation should include a specific responsibility for them to do it and for the regulator to enforce it. I want to very quickly talk about a couple of the specifics. There can't be a member of their House who hasn't supported a constituent devastated by online fraud. It's growing exponentially. Almost universal agreement that the legislation should address it. That's why we changed it from the white paper to the draft bill, but I agree with the committee that it should be strengthened, and I also think it should be extended to cover paid-for advertising. Child protection has always been a cornerstone of this bill, and I have no doubt that social media platforms is where the volume is, both in terms of the content and the people, and it's in practice where very young children are most likely to stumble over really unpleasant content. But it isn't enough to only include the user-generated content. The credibility of the bill will be undermined overnight if the largest commercial pornography providers can keep hosting extreme content and putting children at risk. So I'd like to see the bill extended in line with the age-appropriate design code. Actually would be a really good way of looking at doing this, as the report suggests. On categorization, no doubt big platforms and search engines is where the volume is, but the digital world changes at lightning pace. If trends go viral overnight, risk should not be judged on size, it must be judged on risk. And emerging platforms can be hotbeds of extremism and really unpleasant content and must be appropriately regulated. Final quick note of caution.